Welcome to Part 7 of Competency 5. In this video, we will work with inverse functions. Number 1, what is the inverse function of f of x? And if you notice, f of x has 1, 2, 3, 4 ordered pairs. So to find the inverse, we want to invert each of these xy values. So we need, for the inverse, we need 4, 2, 7, negative 3, and so on. Okay, let's look at A. Definitely not. B, definitely not. C doesn't do anything to our ordered pairs. So D, I'm going to say this is it. Let's double check. 4, 2, 7, negative 3, 5, 0, and negative 1, 7. Perfect. Okay, let's go to number 2. What is the inverse of f of x equals 4x plus 10? Okay, we can do that by hand. And what we do is f of x actually equals y. And we need to rewrite this inverting our x and our y. Okay, so what do we really have? We're going to have 4y plus 10 equals x. Now we solve for y. So minus 10 on both sides. And that leaves us 4y equals x minus 10 divided by 4 on both sides. 4 over 4 is 1. So this leaves us with option A. Now we could see that C and D are incorrect because all they did was solve for x, and one of them obviously is solved incorrectly. So all of this we get rid of. Okay, but we need to double check ourselves. So let's go to y equals, and as you see, I've already entered the original. And the original function is in y1. Then the inverse is in y2. But I need you to notice that y2 is turned off. I don't want it yet. So what I am going to do is I'm going to draw everything and show you how to check it. So we need to say first graph. And it's graph. There's our graph of our original 4x plus 10. Now, push second program. And you notice we're under the list of draw. We want number 8. So push 8. Now, we need to tell it to draw the inverse of y1, the given. So we need to push alpha, trace, and it's highlighted on number 1. Push enter, and then push enter again. And notice the blue. It gave us the blue. That is our inverse. Now, let's go back to y equals, and I'm going to turn on my y2, which is our option A that we're saying is our inverse, and we're checking it. Okay, so push enter to turn it on. Now push graph again. There it goes. And checked. A is verified. Number 3. What is the inverse of f of x equals square root 2x minus 1? Okay, let's go ahead and put that in the calculator. So let's push y equals, and let's clear out everything we already have. Okay, oh, clear some more. There we go. Let's arrow back up. In y1, we want to put our given. So second x squared, that gives us a radical, and then 2x minus 1. Now, before I go and enter our option in y2, let's go ahead and draw that, okay? So push second program. Remember, we need number 8. Okay, and remember, we need alpha trace, number 1. Okay, let's enter. Okay, notice how it's a little bit hard to see with that blue. Okay, but we can see it. So we're going to have a brighter color with our Y2. So let's go Y2. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and change that color because then we have pink and pink. So let's go enter. Green's good. Let's just go with the green. Okay, enter. Okay, now it's changed. Okay, but now we have to figure out what we're actually going to enter. Scoot up just a little. Okay, so what do we have? Well, we know that this has got to be y. F of x is our y. So we invert. So 2y minus 1. Oh, goodness. That could all look a little better. Okay. Okay. It's somewhat better. There we go. Now equals x. Now that we can read it. Okay. What we do to both sides, obviously, is we need to square both sides. So this gives us 2y minus 1 equals x squared. So we say plus 1 to both sides, all right? So now we have 2y equals x squared plus 1 divided by 2 on both sides, and we see which option we need to select. Okay, A, very close, but their negatives and positives are off. And C and D, again, are trying to solve for x instead of solving, well, they didn't invert. They solve for x instead of inverting and solving for y. So those are incorrect. So now let's enter our option that we believe is correct. So let's say alpha and y equals, select number 1, and we have x squared plus 1 as our numerator, and our denominator is simply 2. Okay, and now let's graph that. Okay, now you see what happened here? It gave us the whole quadratic, but it went straight over our inverse draw. Okay, so let's go second program, back to number 8. You know what? Let's clear that out. Let's do something. Let's just go up and capture it. Okay, and let's push enter and see it goes right back over it. And let's try to see if we can get a little bit better zoom in. Let's try 7. Oh, that's not good. That's too much. Okay. Zoom 6 again. Okay, now let's back out, go up, capture. I think that's about the best we're going to get. But anyway, either way, it verifies our findings. Now, be cognizant, uh, aware that this will happen in some cases where you see it can continues the picture, okay? But we are correct. This is actually proves our inverse, okay? All right, let's move on. Number 4, what is the inverse of f of x equals 7e to the x? Okay, so again, f of x will be our y. And let's say 7e to the y equals x. Okay, if you have solved one of these before or you worked in class, I'm going to just tell you right off that sometimes you're told to start out by applying the natural log to both sides first. ln, which would be our ln to both sides. No, I don't do that. I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 7. And now this is 1. So now I will actually apply the natural log to both sides. So what do I get? I get y times the natural log of e equals the natural log of x over 7. And the natural log of e equals 1. So it's gone. So I actually have y equals ln x over 7. And that means I need option A. Okay. The other options, one of them that it's really easy to make a mistake is this one right there. Okay. All right. And that's why I divided by 7 first, because it helps eliminate. Now, there is a rule that you can use when these two items are multiplied together. That means adding, and then you work through it. But this saves you time. But let's double check what I've done. Okay. Just because I've done it and I said, okay, this will save you time doesn't mean that I'm correct. So let's double check it. Okay. So let's clear out what we have. Oops. Push clear. Go over. And we'll have to keep clearing out. Okay, let's go back up. Now we had 7. Now to get to E, we need second divide. See that E right there? Oops. No. Let's delete that out. Okay, now we have our 7. Okay, let's try that again. Second divide. There it is. Now we carry it up and we want the X there. Okay, now let's graph it. Let's graph that first. Okay, now let's say second draw and we need number 8. And remember, you go to alpha trace. Number 1's already highlighted. And let's push done. Or rather enter, excuse me. And as you see the blue, a little bit hard to see, it gives us that inverse. But let's go to our Y2 and put in what we want the inverse to be. We want the inverse to be ln natural log, push that. And then let's put in our fraction alpha y equals number 1. Okay. X over the 7, arrow down. You got to arrow over, close our parentheses, double check that we've entered everything correctly. Now let's graph. And notice how our green goes right over the blue. Verify that A is the proper selection. Okay. Number 5, what is the inverse of x to the 3rd plus 6? Okay, you know the routine. This would actually be y. So this means we need y to the 3rd plus 6 equals x. Okay. For this one, we need to go ahead and subtract 6 from both sides. Now we have y to the 3rd equals x minus 6. Now we need to take the cube root of both sides, okay? So how do you do that? You need to put the 3 there. Okay, make sure you have that 3. Okay, well, let's go over here before I move on and look at our options. I was jumping the gun. Remember that this will literally cancel out. And now you have a y equals, okay? And you put your 3 there and x minus 6. Okay, so this does not follow through correctly. It just simply subtracts the 6. So that isn't correct. Looks like option B is correct and option D is incorrect because that is the understood square root. And same thing on C, even though it's greatly incorrect. Okay. So that means option B is what we need. So now we're going to do the same thing. We're actually going to check that. Okay. All right. So I'm going to leave that draw there and we're going to use that. Okay. So let's clear this. Our given was x carried up 3 plus 6. Oops. I need my 3, and then I forgot to arrow over. Now I have plus 6. Okay, you always have to remember to arrow over. I do that sometimes. I start pushing buttons without looking. Okay, now our option was, okay, we need to go and use math to get our cubed root. Nope, let's not use that. Let's use alpha. Alpha window. And there it is, number 6. Ah, there we go. Now put your 3 in, arrow over, and say x minus 6. And verify that is correct. Looks good. Okay, let's graph it. Ooh, that looks pretty good. But let's draw. Remember, it'll draw the blue over it. It should draw that blue color over it. So let's see what happens. Second graph. Oh, you know what? We weren't going to do that. Well, let's go ahead and do it. Let's do number 8. I was going to go. Okay, see what happened? So I didn't put the Y1E because I stopped myself. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to go up, grab what I had, enter. It brings it down. Now I push enter again. And there it is. What I forgot to do was my alpha trace and get my Y1, but it didn't matter because I could capture. But we verified the selection. So B is correct. Okay. Now let's look at number 6. What is the inverse of g of x equals 3 over 2x minus 5? Okay. So let's enter that in the calculator before we start solving. All right, so y equals, let's go over and clear it, clear this out, go back, and let's put in our fraction, enter, and now we have 3 over 2. So that's 3, arrow down 2, arrow all the way over, put in our x, and minus 5. Okay, that's entered correctly, so good. Now I'm going to wait before I enter in our selection because I need to see what that will be. Well, remember, that's y. So we have 3 over 2y minus 5 equals x. Now we solve for y. So we need plus 5 on both sides. We get rid of this. Now we have 3 over 2y equals x plus 5. Okay, what do we need to do? We need to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 2 over 3. This, see how this turns this into 1? But we don't just do it to one side. We have to do it to both sides because this is how we would get 1. This becomes 6 over 6, which is 1. But we have to follow through. So what do we get? We get y equals 2/3 x plus, okay, plus the, you know what? I'm going to use a parentheses and plus 5 because I'm looking at this option over here. Then I'm going to simplify it. I will have 3 here, but then I'll have 2x plus 10. Now let's go look at our options. Number 1, it doesn't follow through correctly. Number 2 has a huge mistake right here. It kept the 3 over 2. We know that that's not correct. C is a match. And as you see, they didn't distribute correctly on D, so that won't work. So now we know what to enter to check. So we need to go back and get alpha, y equals to get a fraction. So number 1's what we want. And we need 2x plus the 10 over 3. Okay. Now let's graph that. Okay. All right. I'm going to back out. I'm going to go second mode. And I'm going to go up and grab the draw inverse that we needed. Okay. Make my life a little easier. And there you go. See how that blue went right on top of it? That verifies that C is the correct option. Okay, this is the last last question in this particular video. And thank you guys for watching and sharing, liking us. Sharing us is really helping out. That lets more people decide if our videos will help them or not. And those of you who have subscribed, kudos to you. It's so wonderful that you've even considered us on your subscriptions. Okay, everybody, once again, happy testing.